What is up, guys? It is the Blue Bloods here, back with another interview, and we're headed back to FAMU. Y'all see the hoodie. I don't pull it out for just any reason. And I got my guy, Jay Jackson Williams, offensive lineman from FAMU, gearing up for the 2022 NFL Draft, an All American in the SWAC this year, part of an offensive line that allowed the least amount of sacks in the SWAC this year, paved the way for one of the SWAC's leading rushers in Bishop Bonnet. And so, man, Jay, appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And so let's go way back, man. I know you're headed to the draft now, but looking back on, coming out of high school and the high school recruiting process, what was that like for you and which teams were recruiting you the hardest as you were coming out of high school?
I would say, I honestly I really didn't get much exposure out of high school. I went to a small school. I was also really small as a defensive end. I was probably about 6'2", 230. And so I got a lot of my exposure from camp. So, my senior year before it started, I visited San Diego State, UNLV, and did some workouts with like Colorado Boulder, stuff like that. So I was Mountain West Pac-12 type of kid, and my recruitment actually got derailed. My homecoming game, I ended up tearing my meniscus. And so a lot of the schools stopped talking to me and stuff like that. And so I picked up a few D2 offers. I know I went to visit Western Oregon, and San Diego State came back and offered me preferred walk-on because I got a camp MVP at their summer camp. And so coming down to it, I had to choose between Western Oregon, walking on to San Diego State, and Wyoming, who also came back and talked to me a little bit about coming there. And so ultimately, I decided to go to San Diego State as a defensive end because they asked me to choose what I wanted to play because I was also a tight end. But and definitely high school was like really tough. I would say junior college is when I got most of the exposure and more of the offers when I changed positions and actually grew. And so that's where I really feel like that picked up for me.
Right. And you head to you take the JUCO route eventually. And so looking at that, last chance you really shined a light on some of the struggles that JUCO kids have to face while trying to earn that next opportunity. Looking back at your time in JUCO, what were some of the biggest challenges or things you had to adjust to at the JUCO level?
It's funny you talk about last chance it's weird because I've never watched the episode because I've told my friends like I lived it. So I don't want to re-experience that. But I describe JUCO as I wouldn't want to wish it on my worst enemy, but at the same time, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It really is on you. There's not someone there to call you to make sure you show up to class, show up to workouts. No academic advisor to make sure you're on pace to graduate. There's in California, there's no scholarships. If you're in state, you get a tuition paid for, but other than that, like you're really on your own. Like you gotta work a job, figure it out, see if your parents will support you. And my biggest challenge, you had to grow up, and I felt like that changed my life, just realizing that look, if I don't do it or want it for me, no one else is. So, you had to make sure you were on time for everything, make sure that you were eating, make sure that you were studying and doing what you needed to do. And at the same time, live, you have to figure out what to do. Some days I went maybe 6-7 days with maybe $2 in my bank account and just trying to get through it and get by it. And talking to some of my friends where we're not even in junior college anymore, the biggest thing we all said to each other was we never thought it would end. And it's a mental thing. That was the biggest challenge. It was just like you have to want it for you. You have to do it for yourself because if not, no one's gonna want it for you.
Right. And I mean, it paid off for you. Coming out, you were a top 10 JUCO offensive tackle in the country. You eventually find your way to Florida State, man. So for you, looking back, what played into that decision and what factors led you to commit to Florida State?
I would say my biggest thing when I decided to sign to Florida State was growth. I wanted to move away. Unfortunately, I didn't have any offers on the West Coast. I talked to USC a little bit, but unfortunately, things didn't work out. And so at the end of the day, I took 3 visits. I went to Texas, Florida State, Indiana. Oklahoma came late. Thought about taking a midweek visit. UCF came around. But then when I took those 3 visits, the first thing I looked for was a home away from home and a place that I felt like I can grow, not just as a football player, but as a man and as an adult. And there were nice places. Obviously Austin, Texas, University of Texas, and the facilities, and just the city of Austin, and Bloomington, Indiana, and its rich history and everything that goes on there. But it was just something about the city of Tallahassee that just, I was telling my parents, I was there. I got there Thursday night, and around 1 p.m., that next day, it was just kind of like, I just feel like I belong. Just looking around, just the foresty and everything, the college town and stuff like that. It was a totally different environment and something I'd never experienced before. And then from there, just seeing, Florida State and the rich history of that, and this type of situation that Willie Taggart was in 2019, in which they needed offensive linemen. And so I jumped the gun and decided to, I'm coming, and so I did was more than just football for me. Obviously, it's to make it to the next level. At the same time, it felt like it was the best place for me to grow as an individual.
Yeah, and I mean, you decide to transfer one last time. And so kind of talk about what were the biggest differences between high school and transfer portal recruiting. And also you can kind of go into some of the decision making behind wanting to transfer out of Florida State as well.
Okay, of course. So I'm gonna start with high school, and I'm going to junior college, and then I'm going to transfer portal. So high school, I feel like it's more like hype. Who you can get to watch your film, and most college scouts, they go to obviously the same places to find certain players. Me being a small school guy, unless I'm out there dominating, getting 30 sacks, doing stuff like that, I'm not going to get recognized or noticed. And so, I had to use recruiting platforms, NCSA recruiting, stuff like that, just to get noticed. I had to go to camps and stuff like that. Whereas when I was in junior college, it was like a domino effect. I started out with a few D2 offers, and I remember one D2 offered me, and then 30 minutes later, another one's like, okay, I'm gonna offer you. And then like it was just popping up. And then finally got my first Division I offer from Mississippi Valley State. And then next thing I know, here comes Alabama A&M. Here comes all these other schools that I got offered by. And then my first Big Ten, my first Power 5 offer, I believe, was from the Big Ten. I believe it was Indiana. And then I got an SEC offer from Mizzou, and they just kept coming in and coming in. And so it'll be more of, a junior college, when you're graduating, when you get a degree, we have a need, we need this, we need that. Whereas high school, it was about, what can we turn this guy into in 5 to 4 years? And so now looking at the transfer portal, because you're further in, I was a grad transfer, had 1 more year eligibility. It came down to, okay, well, before I jumped into the portal, talking to my dad about it, I was like, okay, well, because some of the coaches, my dad still knew a little bit and stuff like that. I was like, okay, well, I need to make sure that if I go into the portal, people will take me, and that's what I feel like right now is an issue right now with guys in the transfer portal right now. They think that they just jump in and somebody will grab them, but you need to do your research before you look. You need to see if schools that turned you down when you're in high school or junior college, are still looking for you, and stuff like that. And so when I jumped in the transfer portal, once my name popped up, automatically a whole bunch of schools started following me, reaching out and stuff like that. But in my decision to leave Florida State, just the situation with Willie Taggart, I came in, they fired my O-line coach that recruited me, Greg Fry, a month after I got there. Randy Clemens comes in, which is fine. He really taught me and gave me the understanding of being an offensive lineman. Taught me everything I really know to this day. And so, having him gone as well, they're bringing a new staff, and, working with Coach Atkins, I absolutely loved it. He taught you football like a coach. And so how he learned it was how he taught it to you. But, when the season got closer with COVID going on and stuff like that, and I didn't really feel like it was the right fit for me and with what I had going on. And so I decided to step back, and really evaluate my stuff like that. And I decided to start coaching at a high school nearby. And then I jumped in the transfer portal. And as I said, like I talked to my dad about what's going on, school started hitting me up. And where I decided to go to FAMU was, I would say, is right across the street. They had everything that they had looking for me and stuff like that. So I felt like it was a great fit,
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it paid off in a big way, and this season was a big year for FAMU. A lot of record-setting or notable events that happened for you guys. But looking back on your final year, man, what were some of your what were some of your takeaways from the 2021 season as a whole?
Personally, to start for myself, I really feel like the 2021 season was the best season of my career. I was getting into it a little bit ago, when I hit the transfer portal. The funny thing was I never got reached out by FAMU. What happened was I was working at a nightclub as a security guard, and the guys that play at FAMU were there, and they saw me, and they're like, "Hey, aren't you that Florida State guy in the transfer portal?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just working right now." I'm like, "Hey, man, why don't you come to FAMU?" And I was just like, "Look, you guys offer me, I'm coming." So I'm actually visiting a D2 a few hours away, and talked to Alabama A&M and a bunch of other SWAC schools and some other Power Fives. And O-line coach at the time calls me, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you want to come." And I was like, "Well, I mean, you guys gonna offer me?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, well, I'm coming." And so that was really how it went, and I talked to Coach Black, Coach Simmons, stuff like that. And, just I really didn't know what I was getting myself into at first. I did my research and looked at the team and just what they had already. The talent was there, and it was amazing. And these guys, what I just wanted to get into really quick, when you talk about HBCU football, the Power 5, the FCS level, I really don't feel like there's a drop off at all. When I got there, you just see a room full of guys that are hungry, and that showed obviously because of what we did this season. These guys were guys that could be playing at the Power 5 level, but apparently they were too small. They were not big enough. They were fast enough. They weren't this or they weren't that. But when you go out there and you practice with these guys and you play with these guys, looking at a guy who came from the Power 5 level, I'm like, these guys could be over here doing the same thing that they're doing. And so once the season started, it was just amazing how just everybody just bought in and we just went to work. We had a slow start. Unfortunately, we dropped that game to Jackson State. And then from there on, we had to figure it out. And Coach Simmons said at the end of the day, it's going to be about if you guys buy in or not. And we bought in. We did what we were told. We showed up. We didn't make excuses. We just worked. And the biggest thing Coach Simmons says is you will get what you deserve. And, I feel good about a 9-3 record in the first year in the SWAC, and it was a great season. We had a lot of memories, and the adversity that we faced, when we went to Alabama A&M, food wasn't cooked. We were almost late. The train in the way. When we got down 18 points in the third quarter, there wasn't much whining or complaining or anything like that. It was just kind of like, all right, well, let's get to work, to come back in that game with the last 2 minutes and stuff like that. And it was just so much that happened that season. I just made it one of the best seasons of my life. And, if I could do it again, I would. I love you. It was great. Sometimes I miss the guys. I actually went up to their spring practice on Saturday just to watch, just reminisce and stuff like that. And FAMU would definitely be one of the biggest decision I've made in my entire career.
Oh man, I love it. And yeah, you mentioned that Alabama A&M game, man. That was really the turning point, man. You guys just went on a roll after that first half and just could not be touched. And you also were the first SWAC team to make the playoffs since the 1990s. I believe it was 97, where I was 1 year old the last time a SWAC team made the playoffs. How much did that mean to you and this FAMU program?
I mean, it meant everything. I don't know if you guys saw us in that room in Orlando at the law school, but just to be given an opportunity to play another game, because unfortunately we didn't make it to the SWAC championship, and to put on not for just our school, but for the entire SWAC conference, just to represent and, to do our best. Unfortunately it didn't go the way that we wanted, but, that meant a lot, to be the first SWAC school. I know the MEAC has been there recently with North Carolina A&T, but to go out there, and just give it opportunity to give it our best, and stuff like that. But just because it's the first team in a while does not mean that it'll be the last in a while. I definitely believe that these guys in that locker room today, that's coming in the future that Coach Simmons brings in, they're going to do what they got to do, and they're going to get back not just to the SWAC championship, but also get to that playoff level again.
Oh man, I love it. And I know, this was your last season, playing college football. If you could have one game from this season back to play one more time, which game would you pick?
Man, you know what? I need week 0 back. I would need to run that back. We did a lot. That was probably the most trash talking I ever did, but I love those guys over there in Mississippi. I played with some of those guys that they transferred from Florida State, Isaiah Bolden, punt returner and stuff like that. But that I need that game back. Any other game, it's whatever, playoff game, cool, but homecoming was fun. But that one loss by that 1 point, that just I need that back.
That's also, we had Gentle Hunt on the show, and that's what he said too. He said I'll play that game if they want to play it right now. He was like, we got to run
Yeah.
it back
Like
right this second.
they called and said, "Yo, like they want to run back the Orange Blossom Classic." Like I'm stopping what I'm doing. I'll meet y'all in Orlando.
Man, I love the energy. And you've mentioned him before, and I had the honor to talk to him at the HBC Legacy Bowl when I was there. And you got to play under Coach Willie Simmons one last time at the HBC Legacy Bowl. Coach KJ Black was there as well. But what is Coach Willie Simmons like behind the scenes, and what did it mean to play under him one last time at the Legacy Bowl?
It's kind of funny because sometimes, when we're stretch lines, Coach Simmons he stands by like me and Keenan Forbes in the front, and like sometimes we like to laugh and joke around with him and stuff like that. And I would say, Coach Simmons has been probably one of the best head coaches I've ever had, just not from a coaching standpoint, just best fit for me. He's not one of those guys that's going to be hooping and hollering, yelling and screaming to get his point across. All he has to do is to really say it once. Just thinking about it today, I actually stopped by and said what's up to him really quick. I think about it, I was like, how many times did Coach Simmons yell at me? I really feel like he only yelled at me once. He only said like 2 words, and just hanging out. It was funny because all the seats were taken in the bus at the Legacy Bowl for like 2 of the ride, so he rode back there with us. And he's really cool, calm, and stuff like that. And you can laugh and talk. His door is always open. You want to make jokes at him, he gonna make jokes at you back. I know you guys always see the Twitter pictures. He always got his feet up on somewhere, showing off his shoes. Like he did today. I didn't want to say nothing about it because he was busy. But Coach Simmons, like I said, just you can see it from just how the teams have since he's got to FAMU. It's just everybody just buys in and believes in him. And you can tell that he cares and he has your back just like we have his. And so, like I said, I have the utmost respect for Coach Simmons, Coach Black, Coach Danchek, who he's no longer there anymore. Those 3 guys right there, I wouldn't be the top player I am today if it wasn't for them. And Coach Simmons gave me the opportunity that I needed to prove that I could go to the next level. And I'm forever grateful to him for that.
Oh, there's a reason that he is one of the most successful coaches at the FCS level, man. I'm glad you spoke on that. But to get to the Legacy Bowl, man, there was a lot of great play, man. It was awesome watching y'all at practice. I always was following the O line and D line, man. I had to see those 1-on-1s all week long. But what was some of the feedback from the scouts that you had at the Legacy Bowl, man? What was the feedback that you were getting?
I'm just hearing back, they all say the same things. This wasn't the first bowl game that I played in. I was also at the Tropical Bowl. And, it's just about, they say I have great feet work, athleticism, versatility. Being that I've only played after the Legacy Bowl 14 games of offensive line, there's so much upside and so much growth that I can still have. And I'm currently ascending. I'm getting better, as it goes. And so like that, and they said that, that's an advantage I have over other players, where a lot of these guys have been playing in the SEC for 4 years, ACC or whatever conference, and they've had 30, 40 games, and they're just showing the same thing. Whereas when you watch my film, I get better every week. And so, just seeing the footwork and the technique and everything, I need to work on certain things like with my outside hands and stuff like that. And other than that, it's just, the same things, just making sure I get these done right. And so that's when I get to the next level and prepare myself to be able to play at my best.
Man, that's great to hear, man. I know it was a big thing to have all those scouts out there too. I was really impressed with the scout turnout at the HBC Legacy Bowl too for the first ever inaugural HBC Legacy Bowl. And as a former O lineman, I always love having O lineman on the show because I speak about how important chemistry is, and people who haven't played O line don't understand how important chemistry is, and having that just relationship with the other 4 guys that are with you on that offensive line. When you look back to this year's FAMU team, how important was chemistry along the offensive line, and how much did that play a part in you guys being arguably the best offensive line in the SWAC?
I mean, you got to put it like this. I feel like offensive line is the hardest position to play only because 5 people got to be on the same page. We all got, from left to right, we all got to know what we're doing, which way we're sliding, who we're blocking, who are we leaving, who's the free man. And stuff like that. And just with chemistry and just, hanging around and being around each other, I feel like this is one of the closest groups I'd ever played with. And, they rotated a bunch of guys in at guard and stuff like that, and we had some injuries. But no matter what happened, as you said, we led the conference in sacks allowed. We had the fewest, and we think we're top 15 in the FCS. We led the SWAC in rushing, which if you look back at 2019, we were a pass first team with Ryan Stanley. Rushing yards maybe averaged maybe like 80, 90 yards a game rushing. Where now we had Bishop Bonnet, who almost had 1,000 yards rushing. We totaled maybe 1,700 yards rushing on the season total. And, that's not only just a testament to the 5 to 8 guys that played this season routinely, but also to Coach Stanchek. He got a group of guys together that, were all recruited by different guys. Coach Jackson, Coach Konakis, and now him. You got a room of 18 guys. You found 5 to 8, got us. We meshed together, we connected, and we got through it. We played through it. We played not for each other, not just for each other, but we also played for him. We played for everything that we have going on. And it's just a testament, not just to him, but to us as well, the hard work that we put in. And so that chemistry was important, because at the end of the day, like a lot of people, they're trying to be friends with their teammates. Some people, they don't like each other, this and that. But at the end of the day, that's your brother. That's a man that he don't eat unless you eat. So when you don't do your job, he don't eat. And so at the end of the day, you got to have each other's backs and look out for each other, and I feel like that's what we had in that room. We all could laugh, play around and stuff like that. Sometimes, I could say for myself, I got a little upset at things and stuff like that. And I would take the time to myself a little bit, but that's how everything is with guys and stuff. But that room, probably one of the funniest, greatest experiences I ever had. And I miss the guys, I'm still in the group chat with them. I'll say things every so often and stuff like that. I still check on them and call them and stuff like that and make sure they're good, especially the freshmen. I used to try to help out 1 or 2 of them and make sure give them a rise of workouts and stuff like that. And so definitely this O-line room is a group that, is not just a one-year thing. A lot of these guys I'm going to be talking to and having in my life.
Oh man, I love it, and it can't come any better from an O lineman himself. So I always like to throw that question is when I have offensive linemen on the show. But you're headed to the NFL now, man, and a lot of people like to make player comparisons, and I think the player himself is the best one to give the comparison. So when you're looking at your game, which NFL player do you think you model your game after the most?
I would always say, like, when it comes to tackle play, I watch a lot of guys. I watch Trent Williams. I watch Nate Solder with the Patriots. I watched him a lot. Sebastian Vollmer when he was in the league. But I would say the guy that I watched the most, I would say, is Tyron Smith. We're both from Reno Valley, California. He played at University of Southern California. He went to Rancho Verde High School, which is 5 minutes from my house. And, just seeing how well he's been playing the position for so long and just how technically sound he is, how he kicks consistently, his pass sets and stuff like that. I try to model that and stuff like that. And seeing how he uses his hands and stuff like that, especially in the pass game, is something that I always try to look at. But when it comes to offensive line, because there's so many guys in the league, you try to pick up everything from everybody. Quentin Nelson's really aggressive. You try to pick up on some things he's been doing, and you look at guys, like I said earlier, Trent Williams, don't make sense that he can line up at tight end, motion across, and come back across and clear out an entire half of the field, And, like I said, a big guy that I watched when I started playing offensive line was Sebastian Vollmer for the New England Patriots. When he was there for a few years and just seeing how he did things, and Trent Brown and Trey Williams and stuff like that. And some of these guys, you just, when you watch certain games, for me personally, when I watch NFL games, like, it's cool. All right, watch the quarterback, this and that. But, like, I always like to watch the tackles and see what they're doing and stuff like that.
I'm glad you gave Trent Williams a shout out. I know he gets a little bit of respect, but I don't think people realize like what a generational talent he really is on the offensive line. Like you said, to come in motion and clear out like the entire side of the field is just next level.
I don't even think that should have been fair, but I'm all for it. When I saw him, I was like, he's not. He had a full steam ahead. It might have been an illegal shift because he kind of got a head start in line of scrimmage, but it was just a beautiful thing to watch. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that.
They're gonna have the Trent Williams rule very, very soon if he keeps doing that.
Yeah, I definitely, if it happened during the season, I might have asked my coach if I could have a chance to do that. He probably would have told me no. But
Listen, Coach Willie Simmons, if you're watching, we need some offensive tackle motions next year. That's what we're looking for. But when I was playing, man, I'm very superstitious. My pregame routine had to be on point every single game. But for you, what is your pregame routine on game days?
Um, let's see. I kind of keep it the same too. I kind of listen to the same songs. I've listened to the same songs in high school, and I kind of do the same thing where like I go straight into the locker room. I sit down, make sure everything's all situated. I have my headphones in. I'll go get tape, stuff like that. And then, I just get dressed and I'll go outside, do a couple steps, do a couple kicks. Coach Dante really didn't want us to go outside and wear ourselves out because our warm up is long in general, anyways. And so, I definitely walked the field. I'm glad I did some games like Mississippi Valley. I stepped in a few potholes. But, I just the same thing, it wasn't really like something special. I always did the same things, just walk the field, got stretched, stuff like that, make sure everything was taped, put together, when I started having elbow pain, I put my little elbow sleeves on and stuff like that. And I would say it was more of the songs that was more of a routine than anything else.
Oh yeah, you gotta have that. Yeah, I had to have that right playlist. I had them all in order. I had to listen to the certain songs in certain orders. I feel you on that one. But man, I saw the offensive line and D line at the Legacy Bowl. There was a little bit of trash talking going on, even in one-on-ones, all the way back from Tuesday, man. So for you, are you a big trash talker during the game?
I wouldn't call myself a trash talker. I would just say I like to conversate. That's how I like.
Okay.
I like to talk. We gotta hit each other about 60 to 70 times. Like, why can't we just, be cool for a little bit, like 4 or 5 seconds? Some guys are for it, some guys aren't. I like to watch Chad Ochocinco. He always tried to talk to other people. When he got to the Ravens, there's some guys who would let them talk to the guys on the other side of the field. But it's all fun and games. I might say something, but like I don't go after the game. I don't mean it. I'm a nice guy. I try my best, but like I just feel like, sometimes you gotta have fun, especially in a lot of games we're blowing guys out. And so, obviously some guys start talking trash, you kind of point them to the scoreboard, I feel like that's the most trash thing I do. Most of the time we conversating. I'd be like, come on, man, like why you do that? This is not remember there's a moment at Mississippi Valley State we scored a touchdown and this big guy did like kind of like a spin move on me, but he didn't go anywhere. He kind of spun in place. And like I kind of laughed in like mid play, and he's like, "What?" And I was like, and I kind of looked at him. I was like, "Big guy, don't do that ever again." So
Oh no.
yeah, trash talk, but it was more just like I like to conversate. Just have a little fun. Like we can talk sometimes. I know we're enemies. We're trying to get to this money, get to the next level. Stuff like that. But we're still human. So why can't we just just talk a little bit? That's how I feel about it.
That might be more demoralizing than you trash talking me. If I try a spin move on you and you just laugh at me, just that was like your first instinct. That one has to sting, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. But kind of a follow-up there. So you can give me one from another team you played, and I kind of feel like I know the answer on your own team. So you can give me both, but who's the biggest trash talker you've had to go against?
Go against I'm trying to think. It had to be a guy from Bethune-Cookman, the defensive end, number 44. It had to be him. But it was cool. Like after that one like that 13 plays, not 13, I would say it was like 11 plays in the third quarter, the last 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We scored 3 touchdowns. In the fourth quarter, we started conversating a little bit. We got to finally, I wanted to conversate. And he was talking trash, he was saying this, saying that, oh, you can't block me, this, and that. And it came to a point, I think K-Dot had caught like a 30-yard pass down the field, and in the middle of the play, I grabbed him. I just drug him to the floor, and I was laying on top of him. And I kind of just told him, look, I haven't said anything to you, but I really could be doing this to you right the entire game. I'm talking to you now, but you need to stop talking. And I got up. He got up. He didn't say a word to me about it. But we cool. Fun fact, he actually did. I didn't catch it, but apparently he slapped me during the game while I was blocking him, and I didn't see it until the next day when they showed the film. And my coach was like, "Why'd you let him hit you like that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I thought we was cool, man. Like, why you do that?" But I would say out of every guy that I played, second had to be Christian Clark from Alabama State. The big nose tackle. I don't think he was a trash. He was just the same way. He just wanted to conversate. It's kind of funny because like I played him in 2019 when I was at Florida State, and I just tried to, like I said, conversate. So I'm walking past him. I'm like, hey man, don't I know you? And he was just like, where? And I was like, you played at Florida State 22? He's like, you went out there? I was like, I mean, I was, but I was like, you got a point. I didn't play that much that game, but I'm like, come on, man.
Oh man, I love it. And kind of building off of that, what is the number one mistake a defensive lineman can make against you?
That's tough. I would say something that I caught on to towards the end of the season was on outside zones when I caught on to what usually a lot of teams are traditional with being stout and stuff like that with their gaps, but a lot of times in the SWAT, if you go out there to block them, they're gonna try to jump inside. And I felt like the biggest mistake that came to be was trying to trick me, like go out, like trying to maneuver and stuff like that, And I had started to get really good at that. Where, for example, it was 3rd and 9 in the Florida Classic, and they overloaded the opposite side, the side to the back, and so we checked it the outside zone my way. The only person out there was my man in the corner, and so I was like, okay, if I step as hard as I can out here, he's going to try to go inside. And so I did it, and he did it, and I just had him. Bishop ran for about 20 yards down the field. And so I would say, that would probably be like the one thing, trying to trick me or like, I'm a guy that I watch film more than I watch TV. And so, if you try to pick up certain things on me and stuff like that, like it typically doesn't work because I usually switch things up based on the type of guy I'm playing. And another mistake I would say is something I actually learned while I was at the Legacy Bowl. I was talking to a guy I played during the season, and he was like, dude, like, you're really patient. And I was like, yeah, because one thing defensive linemen are taught when you watch defensive linemen do drills and you watch their coach when they shoot the thing for them to hit their hands, it's always set, punch, set, punch. So they're taught that an offensive lineman after their second kick is supposed to punch. Okay, well, if we both know that, why am I going to give you my hands after the second kick? So
That's
that was
great point.
And I always told the guys, I told him when we were at the Legacy Ball, I'm like, okay, well, you're taught set, punch. Okay, so that's fine. So when you watch a lot of film, a lot of guys are they're clubbing and swimming and chopping at air. My hands are still here, and they're just like, man, like I'm thinking you're doing this or that. I'm like, well, I'm not just gonna jump the gun and come at you, I feel like offensive line pass pro, it's aggressive, but at the same time, it's in a fight, but it's also like a chess game. It's like who's gonna make the first move until you decide to just bull rush me because I didn't make one yet.
Oh, I like. Listen, that was by far the best answer I've ever had on that one. It could be the offensive lineman in me, but the fact that you recognized that over the weeks and made that adjustment, genius. And listen, if there's any O linemen, listen, I know we got some subscribers who are high school O linemen. This right here, clip it, put it on your phone, and watch it because you need to know that. But
it's something that Coach Atkins taught me at Florida State. He showed us the quick tape. He was just like, watch. It was a lot of stuff he taught us. We were watching film, and it was kind of look set, punch, set, punch, set, punch. Okay, well, why would you give him your hands up for the second punch? It's something that I just started applying to the game. When you watch, like, when you saw a bunch of my one-on-ones and stuff like that, like guys had to resort to bull rushing me because they can't chop, dip, rip, club, anything because they were just hitting air. And once they hit air, then I would strike them.
And then they're off balance usually or out of position and you win. I love it, man. Love that whole segment there. But looking back through your career, man, we talked about trash talk and all that kind of stuff. Who is just the overall best defensive player you've faced in your career?
Just in the entirely of my career, though I didn't play him in the game, he was my teammate. I have to say Joshua Kando. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs now. This guy was a 5-star out of IMG Academy. My first day of practice in spring at Florida State, it was the first guy I ever went against. And it was like my life flashed before my eyes because it was just so quick, so sudden, and it happened. And like, not only was he the best guy that I ever played against, but he was also one of the most humble and coolest guys I've ever met. It's kind of funny because he said that he was about 6'7", 270 defensive end, and he wants to be a pediatrician one day. He works with kids and stuff like that. And so I'm just like, not only are you like manhandling me on this field, but you also want to like be a doctor to kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
It just got the all around package on that
yeah.
one. So that was your welcome to college moment. He gave it to you that first day in practice.
It was that second rep. The first rep was a run, so it was fine. But it was block, boom, boom, whatever. But the second play was a pass play, and so I'm like, okay, I have him, man. I've never seen this guy play before, so I thought about, okay, I'm about to go here and just go as hard as I can. I took my set, and by the time I took my set and settled, he was already in my face. And I was like, oh snap! Like this is like it happened a lot faster than I expected. Like going from junior college to the ACC, I was like my welcome me right there. It kind of caught me off guard, but it didn't stop there. Eventually at some point I figured it out, but like just them first few reps against him, it was a ride.
Bet I love it. And then the last question here, man. I'm sure you got this question at the Legacy Bowl and down there at the other All-Star game. But if an NFL franchise asks you what they're going to get if they draft you in April, what do you tell them?
You're gonna get a guy on the rise. You're gonna get a smart football player. I'm sitting here with an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's degree. You're getting a guy that has great feet work, and just wants to work hard and just do his best. I'm just here to work and do best. And one thing I told Coach Simmons was, I'm just here to do my job. Do what I'm told. And you're gonna get a guy that's gonna be where he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to be doing when he's supposed to be doing it. And I'm just all about the business, all about the work. Like I said, I love to talk football. My favorite thing in one-on-ones was there's a guy that on the other side of the ball, RJ Flowers, unfortunately didn't finish the season, but every time we did one-on-ones, once we got done, we'd come together, we talked about what we saw and stuff like that. And that was just to help my game and stuff like that, and, also with what they'd get in me, it's on top of that, you get a guy that not only knows his strengths, but knows his weaknesses, and I feel like that's my biggest strength. I know what I'm not good at, but I use that to my advantage. I have an understanding of not just that, but also leverage points, weaknesses where I can't get beat, and stuff like that on certain plays. And just like I said, all around, just a guy that wants to work.
Oh man, a great answer on that one too, man. I hope to hear your name in April, and I know even if not, you'll be on an NFL roster somewhere, and I'm excited for that. But man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know the Rattler Nation is going to love this one. I know they support the FAMU guys just above and beyond a lot of other fan bases. But let people know where they can follow you, man. Plug your social media, shout out any NIL deals or anything you need to shout out, man. This time is yours.
Okay, so Twitter is at KVNGJWill. Instagram is JWill98. I don't have that many NIL deals now. I work with Reathlete. I've done some stuff with Body Armor and stuff like that. But other than that, DM me. You guys have questions, anything, hit me up. I'm always around. Also on TikTok at KVNG_JWill. Catch TikTok every while. I play those when I get bored. I used to do it a lot more, but unfortunately, I got a lot of work to do. So just hit me up. Let's talk.
Hey, great TikToks too. Hilarious. I was doing some research, like get ready for the episode. I was like, oh man, like we TikTok star too in the future. I mean, hilarious. And I love how, and I think a lot of athletes are really realizing that TikTok can be used as an avenue to gain support and things like that, man. So keep grinding on that as well, man. But Jay, thank you so much, guys. Follow Jay on all social media. It will be on the thumbnail and in the bio below. Make sure to support these players as they make their journey to the 2022 NFL draft. But for Jay, myself, and the Blue Bloods guys, we are out for right now.